Hello and welcome to episode 34 of Life in General. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
And as always, you can email us any questions or comments to lifeingeneralmi@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook under Life in General Podcast. We are at LIG Pod on Twitter. And check out our website, which is lifeingeneralpodcast.com. Do you actually remember? Did you remember the website address there, Ian?
www.something.com.
Jackass. Follow us on Podbean, iTunes, Podcast Addict. I don't know where else we're at. We're on TuneIn Radio now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we have been for a while, but I finally got our feed all fixed on there. So
Cool.
Because there for a while, it was only the first 17 episodes. And, you know, I know this is completely... We weren't really going to talk about any of this, but I was going back and like looking at or re-listening to some of our episodes.
Mm-hmm. I've done that a couple times.
And it really, like, I'd say, so this is episode 34. I'd say really like the last like 10 episodes from like episode 22, 23, 24 until now, I feel like the quality of the show, I think, has really improved over the first like 22 or so. Seems like there's a better flow to them now. I don't know.
Well, maybe.
I mean, we're just...
I mean, I'm taking into account the fact that I'm still here, so that's a hindrance.
That's true.
To improvement.
Well, no. Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because we did shows for a couple of times where we were just by ourselves, and that was really fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that's holding me up on my show because I don't have someone there saying...
You have a show?
Well, yeah. There's a show. It's invisible right now. No, it's one of the things because, like, you know, we have to set time aside, and I have to come over here to do this, and there's structure to it.
Yeah, some kind of structure to it.
Some kind of structure, at least as far as the planning process and having to be here and our work schedules and everything else. But for me personally, to just sit down by myself, you know, all I have is my own, you know, psychological thing, the little voice in your head that says, do it tomorrow. Yeah. You know, plan it out better. You got the right idea, but, you know, let's work it out better. Do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow I say, I'll do it tomorrow after work. And then I get home from work and I'm too fucking tired, you know.
For anyone that doesn't know, we used to do a show called Partisan Bites, which was just either one of us by ourselves. This is like a quick 10 or 15 minutes. Because it got to the point where we were talking about politics a lot, and I got tired of talking about it on this show, so that's why we kind of started doing Partisan Bites, and we were able to I was able to talk about more like kind of news stuff and things that I felt wasn't really being talked about appropriately or a correct amount of it in the media. Because I if you listen to the show enough, you kind of understand that I really have a big dislike for our media in this country, but so it's kind of a way for us to kind of branch out a little bit and do our own thing. So
I saw it too, really, and kind of what you said, for us to kind of pose our own opinions without having to, you know, have a debate about it. And just be ourselves, say what we want, and let the audience decide. And, you know, otherwise, if you know, you and I, we're going to discuss our opinions. We're going to counter
It's
our
more like just a quick audio blog, basically.
Yeah, exactly. An audio blog is a good way to put it.
Yeah. So that's what, and because of my schedule, it was really hard for me to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's why we kind of...
Now I have your schedule.
Yeah, now Ian has...
But that's not the reason, because it's only been I've only been here 6 weeks.
Yes and no. It's because I was...
Well, you have kids, too. I don't.
Well, that, and so we were recording them on our off weeks from Life in General. So, and that was typically the weekend I work, because I work every other weekend. And so it was really hard for me to, you know, be working 12-hour days, you know, plus commute time and all that stuff, and try to edit a show and get it posted and do all the Facebook and Twitter stuff. So it was really kind of hard. That's why I kind of felt that I just couldn't do it anymore.
Right. I mean, you could have if you had someone to help you out with all that stuff. You know, co-host or something.
You know what, though? and Ian, I love bashing on you for that kind of stuff, and you not come with notes and stuff like that. But as far as like the audio end of it, man, I love doing like the editing and all that stuff. It's really fun. But I know I like to give you shit about not doing it, but
right.
I enjoy that aspect of it.
And when I do my show, I do that stuff for myself. But but it's a lot less than what you have to do because, like you said, it's just a small blurb and 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. And for
the editing part, because, I can stop and re-record, so there's not a lot of editing going on anyway. So.
Yeah. And if you've never done anything like this, typically if you're editing a show, if you're editing a 15-minute show or a 20-minute show, typically it's gonna take you half an hour to 40 minutes to anywhere from, I'd say, between a half an hour and an hour to edit it and all that stuff.
About right, even when there's very little editing involved.
Yeah. So, because of course you're gonna listen to it and you gotta
pick out the spots. Yeah. I try to record in a way that I'll do like 15 takes.
Yeah.
Rather than have to worry too much about doing like in the middle of conversation or discuss or speaking kind of editing.
Yeah.
Which I still have to do a little bit, but most of the time it's just I try to get it recorded as perfectly as possible right off the bat, and then worry about like editing the music and stuff in.
Yeah. See, and my approach is completely different. I would just, like, when I would script it, I wouldn't necessarily like script a show. Right. I would give myself like bullet points, like what I have sitting in front of me now for today's episode. I just have like bullet points. I'm just going to talk through it. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't like something, I would just kind of start over, and I would
edit that.
I would just edit that out of it.
Yeah.
I would just do, so there was a couple of times I'd have like a 15, between 15 and 7. I think all my episodes are between like 15 and 17 minutes. Mm-hmm. But there was a couple of times where I had like 35 minutes of audio.
And you'd have to cut it down.
And I'd have to cut it down. So that would take a while to do.
That'd be almost an hour at least.
Yeah. Hour and a half.
Yeah.
But you figure when I edit our shows now, and that's the other thing, I think that we've gotten to the point now where I don't edit a lot out. Every once in a while there'll be like some long pauses or things like that, or if I have to stop and go say something to the kids or that, or we have to, whatever, stop for whatever reason, I'll have to cut that out, but that's about it. So there's not a whole lot of like in-show editing that I do now, which that's kind of good because early on there was a shit ton of it. I mean, I was editing words out and sentences and, 3 or 4 minutes of just meaningless conversation I would edit out because it just didn't flow with the show.
I never have meaningless conversations. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't care what I'm talking about. It is meaningful. Because if I'm talking about it, it's meaningful. I wouldn't talk about it if it wasn't.
This is me giving Ian the fucking dumb shit stare.
I'm just saying, if I'm saying it, it's meaningful shit. Yeah. I drop some knowledge when I talk.
Oh, is that what it is?
No. Yeah, it is for me, but
spitting knowledge.
I'm spitting knowledge.
Spitting something.
Or is it shitting knowledge? I don't know. What's the difference?
I don't know. I don't even remember where the hell I was going with all that. But anyway.
Well, you were just pointing out that if we feel like we're getting a better flow now.
Yeah. So
by episode 54, we'll probably be better than that.
Oh, probably. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Because we'll hit it this year, won't we?
Oh, yeah, we should. Because and
that's, even if you take the Partisan Bites out, we're still. What did you say? We're recorded we've already recorded 50 some episodes.
Oh, we recorded over. I think we did 51 or 52 episodes last year.
Right.
Between this show, Entertainment Now, and Partisan Bites.
Yeah. So we're there. We're getting there. Well, you can only go up, right?
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. Me too.
Well, that was a good waste of 9 minutes.
It's never a waste.
It's a 9-minute sidetrack there.
It's never a waste. Just think, when we're dead, our voices will still be out there on the internet.
Yeah, but no one's going to listen to it then.
It doesn't matter. At least it's there.
That's true.
You have, granted, you have kids that can carry on your DNA. I don't have that, so this is my legacy.
This is your legacy?
This is my legacy, yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So as far as topics, we've kind of touched on this before a little bit.
Yeah.
I think our very first episode, we talked
media.
We talked about like social media and stuff like that, and so I've been kind of seeing a trend over the last couple of years of kind of the way that, because we always look at the positive impacts that technology has on our society, and I feel like we're starting to see more of the backside of that.
The bad side?
Yeah.
I think it's always been there. It's just, I think technology progresses at such a rate now that it's both easy and difficult to see the bad, and it's coming in larger groups. For example, if you go way back, to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, when factories were starting to be automated to a degree, relatively speaking, how the workers reacted to that. I mean, it was good for business, but it wasn't good for people.
No.
Technology, right from the get-go, as we understand it, has always had a bad side to it.
Well, yeah, because if you don't, as an employee, if you're unable to or resistant to change, you'll eventually make yourself obsolete.
Well, true, but there is change out there that occurs that makes the worker obsolete regardless of their ability or willingness to adapt to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've got that, just now, and it came up during the campaign last year. The founder of Hardee's and Carl Jr. His goal was within years, I forgot the time frame, but he, as soon as possible, wanted to have all of his restaurants automated.
Yeah.
And have no workers at all.
How would they do that with the food?
Well, it's as simple. I mean, you can order anything online nowadays, so it would just be an in-store. You go in, you plug your card in, you type in what you want.
I have heard of that.
It, and I mean, you don't need anybody there. You have.
You would still have to have people make the food, though, wouldn't you?
No, the machine. He wanted machines to do the food and everything too.
Huh. I guess I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting, but I don't know how feasible that end of it is. Like, I've seen, I do know that I think it's McDonald's or somebody else is starting to put in ordering kiosks,
right?
In some.
Well, and I know like Tim Hortons, they have, you can order online, order on your app, and pick it up at the window.
Yeah.
So
can you really?
Yeah.
I got the app. I never used it.
I've never used it either. I'm just going by what I read.
So
you just order it and go pick it up.
That's interesting.
Well, so, I mean, even pizza places, you can order you can order pizza online now.
Yeah, but
you still need people to make it.
Like when I order pizza here in town, I can order it online, but I still go into the place and have to actually pay an actual person.
True, but
they,
the whole our society is moving away from cash money.
Yeah,
and once that occurs, a machine, you just pop your credit card into a machine.
Yeah.
You don't need somebody there.
I was reading something earlier today, or yesterday, whatever it was. But it said that, and this is pretty recent, I think it was from last year, I was reading the article. It said that 92% of the world's currency is digital.
92%?
92%.
Sounds about right to me.
So, I mean, I guess,
Which really is not that big of a change, because our currency's always been kind of imaginary anyway. Once we got off the gold standard and went to the the Federal Reserve, our money became kind of imaginary anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The dollar in your wallet wasn't really worth anything other than the fact that it was a promissory note to be worth something.
Yes, imaginary.
And it's imaginary. It's invisible money, or invisible wealth and currency.
But going back to like some of the pros, I remember like when I was working at the law firm in Nashville, I remember talking to the attorney I worked for. And he was telling me that when he was in law school, it would take you hours and hours to research topics and things like that in the actual library. And he said now you'd be able to do that same research in half the time or less than that. Because just because everything's digitized now, you can go online and look up just about anything.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, there are benefits. There's a lot of benefits.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're the medical benefits that are medical technologies that are coming out that are making things way easier. I mean, just look at the growth of artificial limbs and things like that. I mean,
then the medical advances, it's huge.
And our understanding of the universe is because of technology.
Mm-hmm.
The Hadron Collider. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's big. We've been able to discover so much more because of our ability to create technology that allows us to do
But
that.
remember, that's a time portal, though. Remember?
No, it was more just that we had destroyed our universe and we're now living in a parallel universe because we had created like a black hole type thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That goes back to our last episode.
Yeah.
The crazy conspiracies.
Well,
but other things. There's technology has allowed us to move, to travel faster and farther distances, to be able to move, food and things like that.
not only that,
from
but
different
growing
regions.
food,
Yeah, growing food, GMOs, which I know it's kind of a touchy topic sometimes to some
Not
people.
for me,
but
because GMOs just mean that more people on the planet can eat.
yes, but that's what I was getting at. GMOs could potentially end world hunger.
Ironically, I was talking to this guy who's he's studying to be a biologist, agricultural biologist, and he said that right now the organic industry is actually a detriment to world. It'll actually cause more hunger than it'll feed because the levels that the farmers have to go to have it be organic, they're producing far less at a far higher cost.
Yeah,
and it really is going to cause more hunger than anything else. And we've been eating genetically modified foods for centuries.
yeah.
The banana,
Corn is something.
the apple.
Well, look at corn, for example. If you take corn, like the corn that we eat all the time, and if tomorrow, if humans ceased to exist, that corn would be extinct in a decade.
Probably, because it has to be cultivated.
Yeah, because it's genetically modified, and it has been for centuries.
The apple, the apples that we eat today that are sweet, are human made.
Yes,
they were crossbred with other things. The Johnny Appleseed story, that's what that is.
Yeah.
He was basically that. He was an agriculturalist who created the apple that we understand today, that we have today. The banana, same thing. Bananas that you see in the store do not grow naturally.
Yeah,
they don't exist naturally. You can't plant a banana and have another banana tree grow.
Yeah.
So,
but there's a lot of stuff like that. I understand, and I understand the people's hesitations with GMOs because you don't really know.
Well, I mean,
there's no long-term studies to show what genetically modified foods do to the human body.
But there is studies on what starving will do. So
I know.
You weigh the pros and cons.
I understand that. But as far as pros, still, look at all the new forms of entertainment and art that we have now because of technology. Hell, what we're doing right now.
Yeah, couldn't have been done 25 years ago.
No, it couldn't have been. Well, it could have been, but you'd
not to this level.
No, you'd have to sit in a studio and be on the radio.
Yeah.
Which no one ever
or have
put
some kind of big recording booth anyway to make a copy of it.
But renewable energies, moving across country for jobs and things like that didn't exist prior to
just
internet and things like that.
The ability to work from home for a lot of people.
Yeah,
that's another thing. Especially if you have a family at home, sometimes the ability to work from home is a blessing, and it's a lot easier for people now.
Yeah,
you don't have to be tied to a phone. Cell phones. For every pro, there's a con. And I'm not really sure if one outweighs the other on almost anything.
I think there's some pretty big cons, though.
There are, but I'm saying but it's kind of an equal balance. I don't know if the scales have tipped in either direction. I mean, they might lean one way, one thing for a little while, but then there's ways to counteract that and kind of balance everything. I don't know if there's necessarily a downside that outweighs the upside.
I don't know.
Maybe on some things, but I haven't.
I think culturally, the constant distraction, the technology is, I don't know about you, but when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I roll over and grab my phone before I even get out of bed. Grab my phone, I check Facebook, I look at Twitter.
I grab my phone because it's my alarm, and I have to hit the snooze 50 times.
A vast majority of people do the exact same thing I do.
Yeah. No, I know.
You roll over.
If I don't have to get up and go to work, that is the first thing I do. I check, see if anyone texted me or messaged me or whatever, yeah.
But people are always watching YouTube videos and Netflix, and they're constantly distracted by their phone. I read something, I don't remember the exact number it was, but they said the average person checks their phone like thousands of times a day. Has some kind of not necessarily checks their phone, but has some kind of interaction with their smart device over 1,000 times a day.
Yeah, I can see that probably being true.
So it's that constant distraction. It's the addiction almost to it.
Well, and yes, that's a downside. But the argument to that would be, whenever there's a scientific or technological kind of revolution, society has always had to adjust to it.
Yeah.
And it's not that society never, or the technology can only adjust so much to society. The other side has to be society adjusting.
Yeah.
To it. And we're going to see that because, your kids and, down the road, your grandkids are going to be exposed to far more distraction from technology than we could possibly even imagine right now.
Yeah.
The way it's just at the rate of growth. So.
Well, yeah, now that we get into like virtual realities and things like that.
Exactly. So now, when you look at it and you see that as a negative, as a downfall, you are looking at it through the spectrum of a generational thing, because we've pointed out before that we're kind of, our generation is that middle generation, the one that had it kind of both ways.
Uh-huh.
When we were younger, we didn't have it, and then when we were just hitting our teens and 20s, we had it.
Yeah.
So we knew what it was like not to have it, and we knew what it was like to have it. And so when we say distractions, we had our own distractions that maybe our parents didn't.
And that was kind of the thing I was going towards. How much of it is just kind of an evolution of where we're going? I'm sure our great grandparents probably complained about our grandparents being distracted by the radio, and our grandparents complained about our parents being distracted by TV, and our parents complained about us being distracted by video games.
Right.
So
which is still kind of going on.
But it's just a greater level.
Greater level, yeah.
So is it just kind of a natural progression?
I think it is. I think it's part of our natural evolution, societal evolution, not necessarily human biological type evolution, but I'm sure that's going to be affected by it too.
Yeah.
But society evolves. It has, and society is going to evolve much faster, at a rate where we can actually see it happening, right in front of us.
But I think the technology is evolving faster than society is.
And it could be.
And that's why I see a lot of the stuff like the, just the laziness, in the parents using tablets and things like that as a babysitter, electronics as a babysitter instead of actually engaging with their children. There's huge, long-lasting complications.
True,
but I wonder, and hopefully that'll correct itself over time.
I think it will. Because you look at it again. You're looking at it through kind of a narrow spectrum.
Yeah.
Because we can only relate to what we see around us. But I mean, the same thing was said about TVs being babysitters when we were kids, and parents just popping kids, and I came from, your mom worked, your mom and dad worked, my parents worked. There were times where the TV did have to be the babysitter.
Yeah. But it was different though also, because at least a lot of the shows I remember watching growing up, there always seemed to be some kind of educational, at least a lot of them, an educational lesson. There was something to be learned from what we watched.
Right.
That doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
Not really, not to the same extent.
Especially with the explosion of YouTube, where I see so many kids, my youngest included in it, that can sit there and spend hours upon hours. Upon hours, sitting there watching mindless YouTube videos that have absolutely no value to them. Where at least a lot of the stuff we had growing up, there was some kind of value to it. Maybe not obvious right off the bat.
Yeah, maybe not so much. Because I'm thinking about it from just my own personal perspective. Growing up, what I chose to watch. When I did watch cartoons and stuff, a lot of it was old school cartoons,
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes kind of stuff, Woody Woodpecker. But the newer, more modern cartoons that I watched were contemporary to me. G.I. Joe, Transformers. You could argue that those are kind of empty too, but at least G.I. Joe has had that. The more you know.
Yeah, there was always something to it.
Yeah.
Watching a video of people opening up toys. Where's any kind of value in that?
Well, you and I can't see it. I'm not sure if there is any value, but apparently children do see value.
Well, yeah, because they want stuff.
Well, yeah, but you can't.
So
you
it's
can't,
just
that's unfortunately that's part of having a capitalist society.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we had a more balanced capitalist society, like what you and I agree we should have, kind of a socialist capitalist type mix hybrid, you're still going to have that because if you don't create,
you have to have the demand for the supply,
right? Exactly, and if you don't have people, unfortunately, coveting other people's stuff, they're not going to go out and buy. I mean, George Carlin said that.
Yeah,
when he went over his breakdown of the 10 Commandments, coveting thy neighbor's goods, that's what keeps the economy going.
Yeah, but it's just a lot of the stuff I see kids watch
would not have interested you at their age.
No, and so a lot of the cartoons still have some kind of value to them.
I suppose.
But I know. Obviously, I watch a lot more of it than you do.
I'm just going by like what we were talking about earlier because Sean was watching Teen Titans Go.
Yeah,
and you pointed out they're not fighting bad guys.
Not doing anything.
They're not doing anything. And I said, you're right. It's a situational comedy for kids.
It's a
but there's
cartoon version of Friends, is what I said.
And that even is probably an affront to what Friends is, honestly, because at least there was something going on there.
Yeah.
There's generally nothing going on. They're just, basically
moving around
and doing just silly stuff,
slapstick comedy stuff.
In a sense, yeah. I have issues with it just because I'm a comic book person, and I think why did they have to have those characters do that? If you're gonna have, you could have made those characters anything and had them do exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
but your son loves it. It's always on. Whenever I come over here, he's watching.
I know.
So
they're always watching.
He loves it. And Madison, my niece, loved Teen Titans Go. I don't know if she still does because she's a little bit older, but she used to watch that shit all the time, and it drove me nuts because I'm like, this isn't Teen Titans.
Yeah.
No.
It's a cartoon form of a cartoon form.
In a sense, that's a good way to put it, really. It's like it's cartoon of a cartoon of a cartoon.
Yeah.
And for whatever it's worth, kids like it. I don't want to be that old guy,
the crotchety old guy yelling.
Yeah, well, I do want to be that, but I don't want to be the old guy who just shits on everything that kids like because it's new and it's different than what I like.
Yeah.
But as far as technology goes, technology is growing so fast that society itself is going through a considerable amount of growing pains with it. I think, honestly, that's really the biggest problem. We're seeing a lot of the detriment because we haven't truly evolved and adjusted to it yet.
Yeah, and another kind of big downside of it is just kind of the loss of privacy. Look at the big thing that's going on with Facebook right now. They accessed 50 million people's user accounts.
I saw so I didn't read the article, but on Facebook I saw it. You can actually download all of the information that Facebook has collected off of you.
Yeah.
And the article was about one person who did that and the scary shit he found. But there is choice there. There is a level of choice for us.
Yeah.
We allow that to happen.
Uh-huh.
They're only getting what we're giving them.
But at this point in the evolution of technology in our society, you're almost
the choice is becoming minimal.
You're almost shunned if you're not like. I every time I talk to someone there, and I'm like, "You're not on Facebook," and it's like, it's almost kind of strange when people find out that you're not online all the day.
Which is ironic because in less than 5 years, people are going to be like, "You're still on Facebook?"
Yeah. Well, it's
already kind of starting to happen.
It already is. I was talking to Jack, my oldest, a couple days ago. We were coming home from his choir concert, and he made a comment about only old people are on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Remember when we said that about MySpace? Because it was really getting like that. It's like,
yeah, MySpace was always kind of weird.
MySpace. All the old people are on MySpace.
Yeah. Even though a lot of like musicians and stuff still use MySpace.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Musicians and pedophiles. That's really about it.
So you still have a MySpace account?
I barely had a MySpace account when it was new.
Oh.
Don't call me a pedophile on the radio.
Well, we're not on the radio.
Well, you know what I mean. Don't record yourself calling me a pedophile. I'm not.
No, Ian is not a pedophile.
Thank you.
Just a creepy old guy.
I'm not even that, really.
But technology is also it's also created poor sleep habits. People staring at the screen. The light of the screen affects your sleep.
Well, I can't comment on that. I've always had weird sleeping issues, so
I know. But I wonder how much. I'm sure there's probably quite a few kids that probably go to sleep at night with a tablet or something in their hand.
Right.
How much of that is that? How much is that affecting them?
The argument could be made when I was younger and I didn't have that, and I had my own sleeping issues. It was always a book because I didn't really have a TV in my room.
But it's actually the colors in the screen affect your sleep patterns. That's why, I know with some of the newer phones, you can actually change into like a night mode where it changes the colors on the screen. But it's for that reason.
Huh. I didn't know that. I'm possibly I could be affected by that. I'm sure because my sleeping habits are terrible and they always have been. But it seems like right now and for the last couple of years, it's been even worse.
Yeah. Even on kind of a bigger, kind of more scarier note, technology has made it cheaper and easier to enrich uranium.
Well,
which
could have some benefits, but it could have a lot of
more. Exactly, because if you think at the rate it's going, it's gone over the last decade or so. Eventually, we'll get to the point where you can probably enrich uranium in your home.
Well, remember when it used to be you couldn't brew beer in your home? Now you can. So there's benefits.
I know. Well, it looks like we're cooking meth when I'm out there making beer, but
well, that's a good point right there. Cooking meth.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, no, it's a bad thing. But I'm saying, 40 years ago, could you have done that in your home?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I mean, there's a difference between making meth and
brewing beer,
having the ability to create a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll get to the point eventually where some crazy guy in the woods in the middle of North Dakota, no offense to anyone living in the woods in North Dakota, I'm pretty sure no one from North Dakota is listening to our show, but you
possibly not
theoretically
yet.
Some guy up there in the middle of nowhere can stockpile nuclear weapons in his shed out back.
That's a good point. I should. Did you watch? Have you watched Bill Maher from last week? I think it was last week. It might have been the week before. One of his new rules was that we don't need 2 Dakotas.
Oh, I did see that. That was actually someone posted on Facebook. It was funny.
Yeah, two Dakotas has still together combined still has less of a population than California, and because there's 2 of them, they have 4 senators instead of 2.
Yeah,
which I can see his argument there. I've never agreed with him on the whole 2 senator thing. He thinks California should have more because it's a bigger place and it's larger population.
But that's why we have 2 senators.
Exactly. I think adding more politicians to the mix is not a good idea.
No.
If anything, you need to reduce the amount of politicians so you can actually get some shit done.
It would be interesting. It probably would never work, and they'd never be able to pass it in the United States. But I think it would almost be interesting to go to get rid of not necessarily the Senate, but get rid of the House completely.
I agree.
And go to a voting system where you can.
Well, that's where technology could
where
go.
you could say, okay, at 10 o'clock there's going to be a vote on whatever, and then everyone in the country can go online and vote.
It would work, probably.
Just as long as the Russians didn't hack it.
That's what I was. I wasn't going to say the Russians, but
yeah, somebody.
The problem is there is the potential for damage is higher.
Yeah.
It's one thing to hack an election, because all that does is put someone in power that probably shouldn't be there, and that can cause problems, but it's a progressive thing. Whereas if you have us voting literally on everything, whether it be a tax cut or just any kind of legislation, that can affect people directly, like right now.
Yeah.
Or, voting on a war, for example.
Yeah.
If you have the right person with the right knowledge to affect that, we could all vote to go to war and not really all vote to go to war.
Yeah, and that's why I said you could get rid of the House and probably keep the Senate.
Right.
That's kind of the balance to it. But the other thing is, if you want to get rid of people hacking into it, create your own software. Mm-hmm. It's like that's always been kind of the thing about Mac computers. Yes, Mac computers are expensive. Mm-hmm. But there's very, very few viruses that are made for Mac computers because it's such a small percentage of overall computers in the world. Why take the time and effort to create a virus that you're only going to be able to use on such a small number? So if you created your own operating system and only used it for voting purposes, how much harder would it be to create and hack into it?
Well, it's hard to say because you point out that there's less viruses for Mac because it's a smaller percentage. Now you're talking about a national number here.
I know
so
that, which
300 plus million,
which would probably
so a virus would be very good for effective.
But how hard would it be to create a virus to attack a program that you don't have or have access to? You understand what I'm saying, though? I
guess to a degree I understand what you're saying.
If you don't know what this program is
mm-hmm.
or how it operates, how do you hack into it, and how do you create a virus to attack it?
I don't know. I'm not a hacker.
But I'm saying neither am I. That's more
what I'm saying. What I think would happen is it's not necessarily how do you do it, but how long until someone figures out how to do it.
Yeah,
that's the key.
But we've got. I mean, so every decade or so, you have to come up with a new program.
And I think it would probably be less than 10 years. Honestly, it'd probably have to be more like every 5 to 7.
Actually, you know what? You could probably do it every cycle.
Every 2-year cycle,
or every 4-year cycle.
Okay. Now here's the other problem: the cost of that. Although if we eliminate the House, that could pay for it.
Exactly.
But do you really think how many representatives are there in the House?
I don't know, 300 and some, 400 and some.
Do you really think 400 people who are in charge of controlling their own wages and their job essentially for at least
That's why I said it would never pass.
Yeah, because they're not going to put themselves out of work.
No.
Especially to give more choice to the people
because they want to restrict choice.
Well, and it's not even about restricting choice. It's more about financially benefiting from choice.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is they want to restrict the choice so they can direct the narrative that keeps them in power
and keeps their wallets full.
Yes,
their coffers full.
Exactly. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about power and money.
Right. Do you think that technology has freed that up though? Because there's a lot of people who I've heard say that the internet has kind of been able to level the playing field to a degree between the wealthy and the poor. As far as new technologies. Just look at like these app designers. I mean, people who have even rudimentary computer skills have been able to create apps that have made them millionaires overnight. And that's something that...
But there's always been kind of those schemes also.
Well, it's not even a scheme, really, because it's a product. You invented a product or you created a product that sold. There's nothing schemy about that. That's just business. It's schemy if you create that program, make millions of dollars, and it like fries your phone. Then that's a scheme. But, Angry Birds and all those programs. I mean,
what I'm saying though is there's always been some kind of I guess scheme is the wrong word, but kind of some get rich quick kind of thing that does work to a certain extent.
But I mean, it's kind of bigger now because I mean, like us. I mean, we're doing this podcast. We're not making any money off it, but I mean, theoretically, we could be.
Yeah.
And
there are podcasters out there that
they make a living off of doing this. So that's something that technology has allowed the vast majority of people to try, whereas before You had to go to broadcast school.
Yeah.
You had to get a degree in broadcasting. You had to work your way up through the ranks to get to a point. Now, granted, there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
But what we're doing right now used to take a decade for someone to be able to do.
Yeah.
And make money on it.
Mm-hmm.
So technology can equal things out if it's used properly. But as we said, the balance, because it can be manipulated so easily, it's really tough to say where we're going to go. I think society is going to evolve with the technology. It'll just be a couple steps behind.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of a couple steps behind, you're starting to see it now with a lot of the anti-piracy stuff catching up to. I think the pirates will always be a step or two ahead, but it seems like they've kind of closed that gap over the last 10 years. Because early 2000s, it was like the Wild West as far as being able to pirate music and movies and things like that. Not necessarily movies; it's probably more music than anything.
It was music initially.
Because with Napster,
right? But even when Napster was
LimeWire, I think was the other one.
LimeWire, FrostWire. Once Napster was wrangled in by Justice, or however you want to look at it,
Metallica.
By Metallica, it was still available, but it really started booming when it came to movies. Movies, I think I don't think they probably hurt as financially as the music industry was by pirating. I really don't.
No, because
just for example, the year 2012, the first Avengers movie came out. That movie made over $1 billion and was still the most pirated movie in history.
Well, because look at it.
So it still made money. So it didn't hurt financially.
Because you're still going to go to the movie theater and go see the movie. Now, granted, when it comes now, DVD sales will drop off. But at least
I don't know the numbers on that.
But at least with music, there is no going to the theater to go listen to music before the album comes out. It's and I think with a lot of streaming services, they've kind of picked up or gotten rid of a lot of the pirating, because I think it's for a lot of the people that aren't big into pirating. Why spend the time and the effort with VPNs so you don't get caught with categorizing your music and everything when you can pay $10 a month and just have whatever you want to listen to?
Right, which I do,
and that's what I do too. I've got Apple Music and
I have Spotify.
Yeah, so it's a lot easier just to pay a streaming service. And if you're an artist and your music is on, I don't know about Spotify or any of the other ones, but at least with Apple Music, they get money every single time that song is played.
Right.
So I don't know what the numbers are, but the sales numbers I've had, not necessarily sales numbers, but actual profitability of artists has had to have gone up in the last year or two because of those premium streaming services.
Well, there is some argument. I mean, Spotify was actually taken to task for this because the amount of money an artist gets for licensing their music to, say, Spotify. I don't know how it is for Apple, but Spotify was specifically named in a court case. I forgot the artist, what artist went after him. But, with normal royalties, there was kind of a bottom cap on how little you could pay an artist for every, and I think it was like a penny or something like that. Yeah. Whereas Spotify we're talking like fractions of pennies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So a song would almost have to be heard 20 times, be listened to 20 times just for an artist to get 1 cent from it. Something to that effect. So it's hard to say if profitability has gone up.
Yeah,
but physical media kind of made a resurgence there.
It has.
Vinyl.
It has.
Specifically vinyl. When you get vinyl, you can digitize it, but you're not buying the vinyl to just digitize and throw away. You're buying it for the physical copy.
Yeah.
So that's in a sense where the music industry.
So you're saying the hipsters say the music industry?
Well, I guess if you want to, I don't consider myself a hipster. I'm far too ugly and fat for that. But and I smoke too much and don't give a shit about it. It's because I buy vinyl. That's the only way I buy music.
Yeah.
I don't buy it any other way. And I think to the degree.
Well, you do because you have a streaming service.
Well, I guess that's true. But I mean, the argument then goes to the fact that how much of that money is going to the artist.
Yeah. Well, but that's what I'm saying though. Is yes, if you have to play a song 20 or 30 times to get the same royalty that you would from an album or a digital album being sold,
right? Or even just a song.
But because of that streaming service, you're adding 100 or 400 or 1,000 people on
there because it's easier than trying to download
exactly.
I guess we'd have to see the numbers to be 100% sure, but yeah, you're probably right. I also see it. There's the danger, and this is one of the dangers that I'm hoping I was wrong on, because I saw it, having worked in a video store, the idea of the Netflix model and the Hulu model, when you go to a video store, because it's all hard copies in-house, if you want to watch Casablanca, you can go rent it. It's there. But if you're one of 100 people who like that movie or have any interest in watching that movie, chances are you're not going to find it on Netflix.
No.
For another example of that, Changing Lanes, which we've talked about in Entertainment Now. It's not on Hulu or Netflix.
No.
There are no video stores for me to go rent it. Ironically, I could rent it from iTunes, which I didn't think about.
Yeah.
But that wasn't available when the video store was open, even a few years ago. That's kind of a new thing that's been part of the streaming thing.
Renting it?
Digitally renting it. You could digitally rent if it was on demand.
You've been able to digitally rent from iTunes for a long time.
Have you?
Yeah.
See, I never even considered that as an option. It never occurred to me. But
it's
iTunes
expensive.
doesn't have everything. It's like $4.
It's $4 to rent a movie,
right?
Or with Changing Lanes, which we reviewed on.
Yeah.
Or
if I rented that at the video store,
if you want to listen to it, it'll be on the episode next week of Entertainment Now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, next week's episode. But if you wanted to rent that from my video store, it would have been 50 cents.
Yeah.
To rent it, and you'd have it for 7 days.
Yeah.
So now it's $3, and they don't even have to hold a physical copy or pay anyone to give you that copy out.
Yeah, and I don't know how long you get it for either. Is it 24
or 48 hours, something like that?
Yeah, I knew there was some kind of.
I've never done it. I managed not to have to do that, thanks to you. But
no, I
you shared your copy with me.
I shared my copy with you. Yes,
but I forgot where I was going with that. Honestly, my brain just shut down. It was literally like turning off a TV.
Technology.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the other issues is technology becomes obsolete so fast. So you're spending now. A lot of people don't. I guess I shouldn't say a lot of people. A lot of people hardly do. But a new iPhone comes out every September, and so there's a lot of people out there that will spend
$800 to $1,000.
Yeah, $700 or $800 every September to buy a new one.
I couldn't do that.
No, well, I don't either. But
if I buy a phone, this one, this is a brand new. It's almost obsolete now because the 9's coming out. But I have the 8 Note. Bought it when it first came out. If this phone, and that was last year, last year. If this phone lasts me less than 5 years, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
That's old school thinking.
Yeah.
That's the same as when my grandfather would push his car out of the garage, down the long driveway into the street, and start in the street to save just that little bit extra gas.
Really?
Yeah. And because he grew up in the Depression when you pinched everywhere.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. You saved every single penny you
now we're a splurging society.
Right. But I mean, every generation has their version of that too.
Yeah.
This phone that costs $800 has to last me no less than 5 years.
Yeah. You'll probably have a new phone within 5 years.
If I'm dead serious. If and I don't see why it wouldn't. My Galaxy 4 lasted me 5 years.
Yeah.
So I can't see why this, high-end model that I bought right when it first came out shouldn't last me 5 years.
Jack, he still uses my 5S, and I mean that's
6-7 years old now.
Well,
5 years old.
5 years old.
So
yeah. And that still works just fine. But it's also with technology the stress that comes from always being connected, always being plugged in, looking to always, what can I put on Instagram to get me likes, to get me comments? I see that a lot more with the younger generation.
True, but that's feeding on a psychological thing.
And that's what I'm saying, though. That's what technology is playing into
now. But that's kind of a new thing, though, because technology hasn't always been that way. Because you wouldn't. There was a keeping up with the Joneses thing with technology. Having a new TV or having a new car or having new stuff, new things. That even goes back to, say, our parents, for sure. But now there's this keeping up with the new in order to be relevant.
Yeah.
For yourself. Not just to be for other people, but just personally. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that's a byproduct of the situation?
I don't know.
Do you think it's intentional?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if it's intentional, that's pretty insidious. But if it's just a byproduct, then it'll be. I think it'll work its way out.
I'm sure there is some intention there.
Right. As far as the obsolete thing goes, I don't know if you ever saw it, and you probably didn't, but the movie Tron Legacy, which was a sequel to Tron.
No.
At the beginning of the movie, the main character in the first Tron had created this big tech empire, basically a Windows or a Microsoft or whatever. But he disappeared, so it was now run by a board. And they were introducing their new operating system at the beginning of the movie. And the one guy who helped found the company, kind of the old guy, he goes, well, with all the money we're charging for this, what's so new about this program that, to benefit people? And the sleazy guy in the board goes, we put a 10 on the box. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was wondering. Is there this technology being obsolete? Is that
nefarious?
Is it built into the system
Yeah.
to be that way? Because for 2 generations now, we've heard people say, "Oh, they don't build anything. They don't build things the way they used to. Things aren't built to last, especially cars."
Yeah.
My grandfather was big on saying that car's just plastic, because cars are made out of plastic now. There's more plastic than there is metal a lot of times, and so I mean, is it that, or is it something more where they're creating the technology? They're already, say, when they come out with the iPhone X or 10 or whatever it's called, have they already developed the 12, and they're giving us the 10?
No, I don't think.
I don't think it's quite
no,
that far
I don't think
in
it's that. No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
Because that to me is the unethical side of it. That
at least with iPhones, when they come out in September, it's normally not until February, March of the following year when you start seeing things leaked for the next year's model.
That could still be intentional,
but it's not being leaked by Apple. It's suppliers that are leaking it.
How do you know that, though? I mean, we don't 100%.
We don't 100% know, but I highly doubt that they're working on something for 2 years in advance.
I'd almost be shocked if they weren't. To be honest,
I'm sure there's at some planning stage they might be, but there's nothing concrete about it.
Right. Because I can't imagine Apple. I'm not a big fan of Apple, but I don't necessarily have a huge problem with them. But I can't imagine that they're not thinking 5 years in advance. Any company.
They are. But what I'm saying, though, is they're not working on a software for 5 years in advance. They're probably looking at a projection. They've got a projection where they want their technology to be in 5 years. Mm-hmm. They're probably looking at companies that they can absorb to add into their products for that far in the distance. But there's nothing tangible that they're probably working on.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's really hard to say, but I mean, that again, it's one of the things that is going to go either to the good side or the bad side of that scale of good or bad with technology, because you're either going to have people taking advantage of it and doing something like I said, having their Model 12 ready to go, but only giving us the 10.
A slow release.
Or, like you said, they're just developing ahead and, it's all just a catch-up job.
Yeah.
So
The last thing I kind of wanted to touch on was something that my wife talks about all the time, and my wife would have been somebody perfect to have on this episode. But and that's the lack of social skills that younger generations have because of technology. When we were growing up, we had video games, we had Game Boys, but our lives didn't revolve around electronics like it seems like younger generations do now.
But I guess the argument could be made that if it's because the parents are letting him, it's still a parental issue. It's not a technology issue. It is, but the technology issue, the technology side of it, is creating children that have fewer and fewer social skills. Well, I can definitely see that.
If anyone doesn't know, my wife's a teacher, so that's. So she sees it. She sees it every single day.
Well, you can see it just walking out in the street. You go anywhere where there's going to be families, you're going to see it.
But it's not just them sitting there playing on something. It's the fact that they do not know how to interact with people.
Right.
They can't have just a conversation. Mm-hmm. Even among children, they can't have a conversation. They don't know how to socialize with each other. They don't know how to deal with outside influences.
But see, that's true of even our generation that's hooked into this thing. And we were taught those social graces, at least for the most part. But you can see that vacuum of social graces, even in people our age, because of technology. So I guess the argument does, because Mandy's right in terms of how she's viewing it. It's the technology's fault, but you see
with our generation,
it's not going to change.
It's only going to get worse. But what I was going to say about with our generation, though, is because, like you said before, we're kind of like that in between. We had technology when we were in our mid to late teens,
and even slight early teens. If you talk about like gaming systems,
yes. But well, I mean, I had like Nintendos and Game Boys and stuff like that when I was 8. You know, so
but I mean, we were there with really the full progression of.
But it was like I think I was 14 or 15 when we got our first computer and
PS1 came out
and internet and all that stuff. So I understand where our generation could have a reduction in social skills because of that, maybe to a slight.
I guess maybe to a slight. Well, we're. Because we're in such right dead smack in the middle of it, really, that it's like our personalities could probably go either way. Some of us will go one way, some of us will stay the other way. So I mean, that's kind of the way I see it. It's more, we were literally so just dead center on that middle ground of it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you and I, at one point in our lives, has used a rotary phone.
Oh yeah.
And we have. And then when we were young, and then now we've got smartphones. So it's like we've been to literally both ends of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I definitely agree that there are social graces that are being lost as a result of technology. But knowing that that's not going to change and it's not going to get any better, it's only going to get worse. I have to hope that. Like I was saying earlier, how society is just a couple steps behind, and we'll get to a point where
we need to find that balance.
We'll adjust. The social graces will change, but there will still be social graces. Yeah. To this day, I still hear children say thank you once in a while. Not very often, but it's something, Yeah.
I don't know. You got anything else you want to add to it? I mean,
no.
I mean, I
The only thing that does scare me is AI. I will say that.
Yeah.
I just don't know if we're ready for that. And I the way they're talking.
There was that Uber car that just killed that guy out west.
And that's even like the lower end of what they're talking about having AI. I mean, we're less than 10 years away from having full on artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Well, they've got I don't remember who it is, but somewhere I think it's in the US where they're working on like brain scanners to be able to read people's thoughts and things like that.
Well, they're also trying to work on ways of being able to upload human consciousness into a computer.
Yeah. So it could get like I was talking about with uranium. It theoretically could get to a point where
it goes over the line.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it becomes a huge detriment.
That's been a fear of humankind for over 200 years.
Yes,
I mean that's what Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was about.
Yes,
essentially, as you know, for a early 1800s. Understanding of what science and technology could be, you know, she was ahead of the game on that and seeing the dangers of it. But beyond that, that's the only thing that truly scares me is I just don't know if we're ready for that.
Yeah,
I really don't. We don't even have. First of all, we're in a time period where intelligence itself is under attack.
Yeah,
knowledge, understanding. Is being intellectual is
frowned upon.
Is frowned upon. So
in many instances,
especially in this country. This country is the worst of it. Outside of the third world. But there is a danger with creating something that can think for itself in a way that can't be hampered by human frailty.
Yeah, because
human frailty is why we can have a society that has a majority of it that frowns on intellectual growth. Computers, AI won't have those holdbacks, and it will grow much faster than we're even capable of understanding. Yeah. And I just, I don't want to be like the weird, the machines are going to take over guy, but let's face it.
Thanks for ending this on a down note.
No, I'm just saying. I'm hoping I'm ending it on a funny note because I want this to just be a joke, but I don't know if it would actually even come to that. But we should be aware that it's a possibility. It's a possibility, and we really need to watch our step.
Yeah.
With that, so we
it's
don't have
slippery slope.
And I don't like using that word.
I know
that phrase. When I use it, I want it to have meaning, and that doesn't have any meaning here. But
I don't know. I did want to add real quick before we end this that I did find some interesting facts.
Internet facts?
Interesting internet facts.
Internet facts. Okay. I just wanted to make sure if it was facts or internet facts.
It was. I pulled it off of the internet, but and the article I got this all from was from back in 2015, so it's somewhat. It's a couple years behind.
About 3 years, yeah.
But so it said that over 90% of all adults have their mobile phones within arm's reach of them at all times.
What's the number again? I'm sorry.
Over 90%. I'm one of them.
I am too.
I always have my phone.
No
matter where I'm at, I always have my phone.
I'm less reliant on technology than a lot of people, and that's true of me.
So. Out of a population of 7 billion people in the entire world, 4 billion of them have mobile phones.
4 billion.
Yeah.
Okay.
The very first personal computer was released in 1950 and sold for $300.
Huh, I did not know that. What was the personal computer? A calculator?
I don't.
It had to have been a calculator of some kind.
I'm sure it was something like that. But $300—that's a lot of money back in 1950.
Oh yeah, that would be like $3,000 now, wouldn't it? Roughly?
eBay makes nearly $700 worth of transactions every single second.
Huh.
Which that's another thing you can talk about technology.
Well,
as a pro is
and a con.
It's true. It's commerce.
It's commerce because right now, as we're speaking, an institution that we grew up with is gone as a result of internet shopping. Toys R Us.
Toys R Us. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't know how true this is, but it says apparently if you can successfully hack into Facebook, they'll pay you $500.
Huh. So there's a lot of Russians who they owe some money to.
Well, they didn't hack into it; they just created false accounts.
That's true. Yeah, you're right there.
Over 1 million new domain names are registered every single month.
1 million a month.
Yeah, over 1 million.
How many more are left?
I don't know. Up until 1995, they were all free.
I think I knew that.
And then after, in 1995, they started charging $100
for a domain name?
For a 2-year license for a domain name. And then people started throwing a fit, so they reduced it to $70.
Oh, very generous.
Yeah, and now you can buy a domain name for like 99 cents on GoDaddy for a couple of years.
Right.
I don't remember how much we pay. I think we pay like $2 or $3 for 2 years.
That's generous by comparison to the $100.
Yeah. So that's kind of an evolution in that. Google search engines answer over 1 billion searches every single day.
Huh. One thing we didn't point out is just the speed of internet too.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
another one that, just even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We are 1,000 times faster than we were 10 years ago.
Probably more than that.
I was trying to be generous because I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that I'm getting just my baseline on my internet's 100 megabytes per second.
Yeah.
Which is fast enough for me.
No. Yeah.
So.
And also, according to the article I was reading, the first computer mouse was invented in 1963, and it was made of a wooden shell with 2 metal wheels.
Huh.
A red panda, which is native to the Himalayas and southwest China, translated the English word for red panda is Firefox, which is where the browser got its name.
Oh.
Does a red panda look like a fox?
They look a lot more like a fox than a bear.
Okay.
They're actually kind of cute.
And also, Wikipedia uses just under 2,000 bots. The article I had, it was 1,941 bots to keep track of more than 39 million pages of content on Wikipedia to correct false and misleading information that they call them vandals that put on the pages.
See, that's a lot of effort. That's a lot more effort than even I think their news agencies use for their fact checking.
But you look. But the thing is, I can't log on to Fox News and put fake and misleading information on there.
No, all you have to do is send them a letter, and they'll probably fucking read it on Friends.
Maybe Fox was a bad
example. Yeah,
but
you can't hack into MSNBC or CNN.
I have a Wikipedia account. I have created pages on Wikipedia. I mean, I could go on there and change whatever I want.
True, but if there's bots that are checking it behind you,
yes,
that's something that I'm kind of agreeing with you as far as it comes to normal media and information sources.
And I always bash on Wikipedia because I was always
because it can be
I always
manipulated.
Jokingly call it an authoritative source, but I
would say
typically
it is as much as the news used to be for us.
Yeah, because if you go on a site, if there's questionable material, it's normally flagged on there.
Right.
There's always a citation needed tag at the end of it or something like that. So obviously, you don't use it to write your college papers.
Right.
But if you're just looking for fast and loose information, you can typically find it on there. I don't know. That's all I had though.
One of the podcasts I listen to, they have a show called Citation Needed, and basically what they do is they'll randomly pick a Wikipedia page, and read it, and then try to explain. One of them will read it and then try to explain it to the other guys as though they know everything about it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's funny. Bunch of funny guys.
No, that's all I had, Ian.
I'm good. I came in with nothing, so
yeah.
I kept up pretty well though.
So we filled an hour and 10 minutes with just my information.
Your information, my opinions.
Yeah, okay. Is that our new tagline?
50% info, 50% opinion.
Nick's info, Ian's opinion.
Hey, you know what? My opinion is golden.
Okay. Well, on that note, any questions or comments, email them to us at lifeandjournalmi@gmail.com. See, you got me all fucked up. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook. Follow us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and all that stuff. Tune in, Stitcher. I don't know.
Any of the above.
Yeah, that's all I got, though. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later with my opinion.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bruh. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the signs. That's some down signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.